3 ways people host a FiveM server: on their own PC, on cheap panel hosting, and on a VPS. Today I'm going to use all 3 and see if you guys are picking the wrong one. There's going to be a couple of requirements that we go through in order to test which is best. We're going to be seeing how long it takes for the server to start, how long it actually took for us to set up the FiveM server, server lag, and of course, cost. I'm going to set up every single server on the exact same build. It's going to be a basic vMenu type of server to eliminate any database issues, and we're going to see how each one performs. So starting with, we're going to do local hosting. We're going to set up a FiveM server on our own PC right here. You can see on my desktop, we're going to see how long it takes me. I'm going to time it and how long it takes me to then put the server files that I have pre-compiled right here into the server as well. Okay, so I have a stopwatch right here open on my desktop. I'm going to click start, and as soon as we click start, I need to try and get that FiveM server set up. Okay, and there we go. I've completely set up a FiveM server using a basic zip that contains a bunch of different mods just so you can test things. But that is completely set up. We're going to do the exact same test on everything else. But you can see right here, the time it took to complete was 5 minutes and 25 seconds. So this server is completely ready to go. I even port forwarded on our firewall. We're making it so it is completely joinable and ready. And as you can see, the FiveM server is completely joinable and ready, and all of our mods are installed right here. So in terms of the setup time, 5 minutes, 25.64 seconds is the time to beat. What we're going to go ahead and do now is a game panel host. Okay, and for game panel hosting, I set up a local game panel using Pterodactyl. I'm not going to be using any type of server host for now. We're just going to be doing Pterodactyl because you're limited to official server hosting providers, because GTA 5 bought FiveM, or Rockstar did, and they've capitalized and tried to make money out of everything. So we're not going to be using any of those official providers because they all suck. I'm going to be doing it myself through Pterodactyl, which is the exact same way. The way we're going to test how long it takes to set up the server is we're going to go ahead and I've set up a basic server right here, but we're going to go ahead and reinstall it. So I'm going to go over to Manage, and I'm going to click Reinstall Server. And we're going to see just how long it takes to reinstall it, because all of this is literally automatic. If you were to buy one from a server host, all you'll do is hit buy, and then you're going to be waiting for the time for it to install, and then it's ready. So it's the exact same thing. So let's go ahead, get ready to reset the timer and start it again. I'll click reinstall and we'll see just how long it takes. Okay, and finally, we have set up a FiveM server with the exact same files that we set up a server on our own PC, but on a game panel. And you can see it literally took 21 minutes and 34.42 seconds. Now, the actual setup itself was really quickly. Setting up a basic FiveM server, it was done almost instantly, within 2 minutes. So a lot quicker than setting up a basic server, in my opinion, on doing it on your own PC. You can compare the times, I'll put them on screen. But the problem that we ran into, take it with a pinch of salt, because obviously this game server is running on a system that I've set up. Obviously with a server running on a game panel, I had to go to my file manager and I had to connect to the server with SFTP. Originally I ran into some issues trying to connect to it, which I feel like most people do for the first time. Eventually I was able to connect to it. And then I had to obviously go ahead and transfer all my files. So I took the zip the exact same way that I did on our FiveM server running on our own PC. I took all the contents of the zip and I just copy and pasted it over. And that's where the time got absolutely abolished. It took 14 minutes, over 14 minutes to copy all of these files from my PC into the server. Again, take it with a pinch of salt. It could be quicker on different hosts, especially depending on your internet connection, etc. But that is a direct comparison to doing it on my own PC and to doing it on a host. And it will always be longer because you're having to copy files from your own PC, from a zip, then into this file on some random server. It's always going to take longer because it has to go from your PC and upload it to this PC. You can indeed see that the server is indeed running with all of our scripts. And one thing to note is I would say that everything here did actually start a lot quicker than our own personal server. Everything seemed to run a lot quicker. So that maybe is a benefit. But you can see everything is running just like it is on our own server right here. You can see it all started the exact same way. Okay, so let's do the exact same thing, exact same server files, exact same setup on a Windows VPS this time. So I've got our Windows VPS set up right here. Here it is. This is our Windows VPS that I am using from my own company, HTNetwork. And the specs, if you are wondering, are identical to the specs of our game server. You can see right here, we have got 6 gigabytes of RAM, 4 CPU cores, and 120 gigabytes of storage, which is identical to here. We have 120 gigabytes of storage, we have 4 cores, and we have 6 gigabytes of RAM, just to make sure that is nice and even. So let's go ahead and do the exact same thing, but on a Windows VPS. Okay, so I'm logged into the Windows VPS. We've got our timer ready, and it's going to be pretty much the exact same thing as doing it on our local host. So let's reset the timer, click start, and see how long it takes us to set up a FiveM server. Okay, and now we have finished setting up a complete FiveM server using the same zip, the same files on our Windows VPS. And you can see this took 12 minutes and 27 seconds. So not too bad, bang on in the middle is pretty much what we expect. Again, with this, you do have the issue where you're having to copy files back and forth, but you have a lot more control. For example, I was able to go onto Google Drive, upload the zip to there and just download it, which is so much quicker than SFTP. You have all these different ways of doing it. You could even SFTP as well if you wanted to, just by installing XAMPP right here and starting FileZilla. But again, that's going to be slower. But it just shows you how much options you have on a Windows VPS. It's pretty much like your own PC, but you have the benefits of not using your own PC. Anyway, this is the FiveM server entirely set up. You can see everything is good to go. All the mods are installed in 12 minutes, 27.85 seconds. And on the VPS, it's already pre-port forwarded for us. We're going to buy a VPS from HTNetwork, and I'm guessing majority of game server hosting providers, you're already going to have port forwarding done for you, so you don't even need to worry about that. But everything is good to go. Every single server is set up, and I'll put the times on screen right now so you can see which one did the best in the setup process. Okay, so now let's touch on cost really quickly. This is just a general estimate. It's pretty much going to show you where more or less the pricing lies for these 3 different types of hosting. So home hosting is pretty much going to cost you next to nothing besides the cost of your own PC and electricity bills. So running a local host FiveM server is next to free. Then it comes to panel hosting. Panel hosting is about $15 a month for an average spec panel. And then the last option, which is VPS hosting, that's going to cost you about $20 a month. That is the average cost to get a decent spec Windows VPS. So I'll put it on screen right now. You can see the different hosts and the different costs for running a FiveM server on each one of these. And you can see basically what is going to be in your budget. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, the final test before I suggest which server hosting to use, is test the performance of each server. All I'm going to do is spawn a vehicle, set the same time, and drive around for a bit and just see my average FPS. Realistically, we're on the same system, so the FPS should be pretty much the same. But depending on some hosts and how optimized they are, it might differ. And I'm sure most of you guys are wondering. So let's go ahead and check the average FPS on each server. And there we go. And no surprise, the FPS is pretty much the exact same. It's around 60 to 70, 75, and we're highs of 80 as we drive around. So really not much difference on all the servers, which is nice to see because obviously it means that we have nice and equal performance. So in terms of your FPS, if you were wondering, it really isn't affected too much by the server that you're running on, as long as they are obviously similar specs. So now it comes down to deciding the type of server host that you should be running a FiveM server on. If it comes to just you and your friends playing a FiveM server, or you want to learn how to develop a FiveM server, I would always say just start by local hosting. There are tons of free tutorials on YouTube which teach you how to local host, and it pretty much is entirely free. Next, I would say, honestly, I would just skip game panel hosting. I don't really find that much benefit in game panel hosting. Obviously, the setup speeds are instant. You don't have to worry about that initial setup. But then when it comes to adding your own mods, it's a long-winded process. You need to use SFTP, which means you need to download a different software. You're going to have to download some SFTP software, which is like FileZilla, WinSCP. And then you're going to have to transfer all the files over to that. You're entirely restricted on what you can do. You can't run more than one server on one host. You'll have to buy another host. And in terms of the database hosting and things like that, it just makes your life 10 times harder. So besides local hosting, what I would suggest is straight up VPS hosting. This is where you'll end up eventually anyway, so you may as well commit to it now. Otherwise, you're going to have to try and rebuild your FiveM server from the beginning. VPS hosting is a lot less restrictive, you have full control, it isn't actually much more than the equivalent panel hosting if you look at the specifications, and also you do not have to install any additional software. Windows RDP comes pre-installed on every single Windows device, and you don't even need a Windows license to have it. It also means that you're not restricted to official providers. You don't have to go through the monopoly that Rockstar forces you to go through with panel hosting. It means you can actually go with good providers. And also you have much more use out of a VPS. Even if it is slightly more expensive, you can use the exact same VPS with no additional cost to run other game servers. You could even run 2 FiveM servers at the same time if you wanted to. Or you could use it to run a Minecraft server, or you could use it to store mods, store photos. There are so many more use cases for a Windows VPS.